The Premier League is back, which means the Fantasy Premier League, the FPL, is back too. It's the biggest fantasy football game in the world. It is free to play, and there are prizes up for grabs as well. And I am now joined by a man who takes his team very, very seriously. Mark Donaldson. I know that anybody who's in any type of team with you, or when we all go into it, we all fear it when we see your name, because we know how good you are when it comes to fantasy football. So let's start with your own team. Game week 1, how did you do?
I did all right up until Saturday night, and then the fixtures came and were played on Sunday, and I didn't have Mikel Antonio. I didn't have Ben Rama either. So I went from a ranking, I think, of about 110,000 down to 1,110,000 because I didn't have anybody from Spurs. I looked at Son, I looked at Mikel Antonio, I looked at Ben Rama and everyone from West Ham and Soufal. So it was okay. I got 90 points in week 1. The biggest dilemma, Kay, for me during the summer was what was known on kind of FPL Twitter as Bruno or Bruno. Are you including Bruno Fernandes or are you not? Initially, I didn't have him in my initial drafts. However, when you get the ownership of players over 40%, you literally are hiding behind the sofa, hoping they don't do that. And I was okay with Mikel Antonio at halftime of the Newcastle game. Then he went nuts. I switched over to watch my team Hearts get thumped at Celtic, and I turned back. Antonio's gone crazy. Ben Rama's among the goals. So I did okay. I would have settled for 90 points before the game week, because that's a good score on most weeks. The problem is there were a lot of triple-digit scores. So I'm already playing catch-up, but I'm not going to panic.
Yeah, you shouldn't panic. Although if somebody did have Bruno Fernandes as the captain last week, then whoo, that would have been nice. All right, game week 2 is coming up then. Who should managers like yourself be looking at? Who are you considering after everything that you've seen so far?
So I mentioned that I'd looked at Mikel Antonio as a possibility right from the start, but I didn't do that. I left $1 million in the bank because I thought I maybe wanted to upgrade my midfield. I had Rafinha in most drafts, but then took him out. So I'm not convinced about Emile Smith-Rowe, and especially with Martin Odegaard likely to be on the verge of signing for Arsenal from Real Madrid. So he might work out, but I don't think he's going to be in my team. So he's the guy I'm looking to potentially replace this week. So I've got $1 million in the bank. It could have been spent better. I could have spent it all in week 1, but then I wouldn't have had this dilemma in week 2. We live and learn. So the other players, I'm kind of looking at some of them. I've got a maximum of 6.5 million to spend, with 5.5 from Smith Rowe and 1 million in the bank. So I like the look of Ben Rama. Now, depending on when you watch this, there is a chance his price may have gone up. That's another thing to remember. The popularity of players, if they have a good game week, their price is likely to go up. So if you want Ben Rama, he's going to cost you 6 million right now, but probably when you watch this, there's a chance he may have gone up to 6.1. There's others in there as well that kind of deviate in different directions. And Mbeumo at Brentford is playing OOP, out of position. So that's a key to think about as well. I think I'll probably go for either Rafinha or Ben Rama, or I could roll my transfer and have 2 free transfers. I don't know just yet, but if I am going to go Ben Rama, I'm going to have to do it before the price rise later this evening.
Weekly wildcard time. So, Mark, yours wasn't the worst of starts on game week 1. Not time to panic too much, although there will be some people who are already doing so and they might want to use their wildcard. If you are going to use your wildcard at this early stage, which players are good options?
Well, I mentioned earlier, Kay, about the ownership of certain players, and it might feel template, but the guys like Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, who if you didn't include Mohamed, Salah, others that are really highly owned, you kind of, I'm not saying you have to have them, because there's many ways that you can do well in this game. And if they don't do well and you don't have them, then you can benefit because everyone else loses out. I think it's the differentials that kind of make you rise or make you fall, depending on who you pick. I'm really concerned about not owning a Manchester City player going into a home game against Norwich. Honestly, that could be, you might need an abacus to count the goals in that one. But who do we pick? This is the problem for Manchester City. It's Pep lottery every single week. You're kind of having to guess his team. So I don't think Jack Grealish gets benched. You don't spend that amount of money on a player and bench him this early, especially with Ilkay Gundogan having a problem with his shoulder, I think, and Kevin De Bruyne are not 100%. So I would suggest if you're going to pick a Man City player, I would go Jack Grealish. He's $1 million cheaper than Riyad Mahrez. I don't know if Ferran Torres is going to start again. I think he needs some sort of kind of Manchester City representation, but beware of Pep lottery. And I know we're going to get to this week's differential. And this is someone who is owned by less than 10% of managers. He would also be in my wild card. And he's another player that I really thought about including in the summer in my team, but I didn't like Crystal Palace's start to the season with their fixtures. I love Wilfried Zaha. I was commentating on their pre-season game against Watford. Everything goes through him. That's what Patrick Vieira wants. He's $7 million. He's got a home game against Brentford this week. I think he could be value. He is this week's differential, owned by just 6.6% of FPL managers. And if you want to spend wisely, I think you could do worse than get the Ivorian at Selhurst Park.
Nice info, nice insight there. Oh, so we talked about having a captain earlier on, and obviously a captain is where you can get lots and lots of points if things go right for you. So let's keep it simple. Who is your captain's pick for this week?
I'm going to go Mohamed Salah. No points for originality. There's always the concern, especially among FPL Twitter, oh, it's the first game of the week. It's the early game on the Saturday morning. If it goes right, then it's great for the rest of the weekend. If it goes wrong, it's a nightmare. Look, Bruno Fernandes against Southampton away from home could go nuts. I love the fact that Greenwood started. There's pace there. Pogba's playing more advanced. Bruno Fernandes was getting forward. And Southampton are playing a high line. So I don't think there's a wrong call. I got it slightly wrong with the captain on game week 1. I went Salah over Fernandes. It cost me, I think, 6 points in total. So you can either go with the bandwagon. That's what I'm going to do this week. I think a home game for Liverpool. I'm pretty comfortable that Mohamed Salah will do well in that one. So I'm not kind of going rogue in this first ESPN FC fantasy segment and picking a random. I'll just stick with Mohamed Salah. You don't win the race in the first week. You don't win the golf after round 1. It's a slowly catchy monkey, as you lot say in the northeast of England, don't you?
I tell you what, though, that wasn't a bad captain to have. Not at all. So I like the fact that Mark Donaldson is having courage in his conviction. Game week 1 underway, game week 2 coming up.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN Plus.